If this was your last day on this earth, if you're sitting there in the morning and you're embracing what is beautiful, and you ask yourself in a moment of death, you say, this is my last day on this earth, will you not savor that morning? All the things that bother you in life, would it just not go away? So the samurais, they keep death near, you know. So these three practices alone, I wrote them down because I reflected on my journey, right? So basically when I became Ronin, there was a certain process of rebirth where I shut down the world and I cocooned myself and I worked on myself. I shut down all my teammates, I shut down every external voice, and I heard only myself. The moment of rebirth. So how does one do it, right? Like, I could say to you, hey man, don't you want to live a life that's like happy? Don't you want to be grateful? And let's just say you go outside and say, I'm grateful for everything. You really think that sticks in? There's a practice. And that draws off the discipline. If you win that morning, you hit it with intensity as in combat, like your life depended on it, then you would hit it with intelligence, wouldn't you? If your life depended on what you do, would you be smarter on how you do it? So why not live life like that? Why not win that morning? So I did. I won that morning, and I won it through positive mind. Listening to positive people, listening to success stories, fulfillment, listening to what is important. Rain is needed to wash away the old. You know, to make room for growth. But yet here we are, in this beautiful day, thinking about other things. The externals that we can't even change. Right?
I have had the pleasure of working with some of the most inspirational, motivational, and philosophical teachers. And today I wanted to take my favorite episodes and deliver them in a video in one place. Today's video was sponsored by Huel, a quick, affordable, nutritionally complete source of food with everything that your body needs. Head to the link in the description for exclusive offers. I really do recommend their daily greens, now available in the UK. Let's dive into this amazing video with some of my favorite speakers of all time.
So it was about the renewing of one mind to accept what is. Life's a choice. If you're totally aware within the moments of what you're thinking, you have a choice. You can be more than this. Success in life to me is the imprint that you leave. You know, like, we're not going to live forever, so you can't take your wealth with you. What did I give to this world? You know, as an artist, what art did I paint in this world? Who did I lift up when they were down? You know, and the thing is that I think that we don't think like that. We think about, oh, if I achieve this amount of wealth, success, and my house is this big, if I drive this car, that's successful. And then when they die, can you take all of that with you? Does it even matter? In your final moments in this lifetime, when you have to trade away this physical life, can you take all those materialistic things with you? No, but what you can take away is knowing that you helped so many people. And that you lived your life. Yeah, maybe you made a lot of mistakes in your life, but you ended up being the person that you wanted to be because you worked every day at being that person. Not business, not just business. You can be that's a goal. But who was the person you wanted to be? First, a leader needs to lead by example. He needs to be a man of action, not a man of talk. I realized that it's our duty to help the innocent. So that's fulfilling, that's what I'm leaving. It's like a Zen garden right? And then you have the stones, and you have the beautiful plants, and you have the ripples around it. You know, you ever see a Japanese garden? So beautiful. It represents, in one lifetime, how many ripples, how many people can you touch? What is your legacy that you're going to leave behind that would better this world? Right? And that to me is being an entrepreneur. It allows me to do that. It allows me to be this person I want to be, because being successful wealth-wise, it allows me the freedom I need to do what is really important to me, and that's helping others.
If you look out in the world right now, it's easy to get dissatisfied. It's easy to get frightened. It's easy to become fearful. It's easy to lose hope. It's easy to lose perspective. It's easy to get lost. We are at the moment in a cycle of life where everybody, if you're just a little bit aware, you can feel something is shifting. Some people are not willing to maybe adapt to the change. Some people are not strong enough to adapt to the change. Some people don't know how to put it into practice in order to go with the change. There will come the time, and it's not going to take long, where a natural separation is going to take place, a natural separation. The ones that are able to read the signs, that are able to go with what is happening, to adapt to the changes this world is bringing to us, they will move on to another world. They will move on to another area, to another cycle of us humans being right now here on the earth. And other people that are unwilling, unable, maybe incapable of adapting to the coming changes. It is simple like this. They will stay with the old world, which is about to end. That's the message. That's all what this is about. Feeling that it's time for a new, something old, an old era is about to come to an end. A new era is about to come. This is worldwide happening. It's happening inside our monastery. It's happening inside of me. What is it essentially that keeps the fire going? Either you have an iron will, then you just then the amount of fire that you can produce is super high. If you by yourself have an iron will, then you can just keep going like a machine. Okay? If you don't have an iron will, you need something that is giving you, that is like substituting, for example, this iron will. I have things that give me iron will. For me, it's a vision. I have vision for something greater. Yeah, or you might say, is hope. Or it can also be, you can think about a person. Sometimes you meet a person, you just need to call them up in the mind, they give you fire. You know, so this is the way. What keeps the fire going? What keeps you yourself? What is it that keeps you, make you push on harder? Trust, hope, vision, purpose. And this is where then things come together. And this is the type of fire where I say, when you know about these things, even angriness, suffering, loneliness, feeling used, feeling betrayed. All of these things create fire. The question is now, in which direction are you allowing this fire to develop? To burn you on the inside? Or are you able to channel, but it's exactly the same type of fire, to channel it and use it for something that is not eating you, to do it in order for you to grow, in order for you to keep going. So, and in the past, 100%, a great source of my fire has been frustration, anger, loneliness. This was my inspiration of the fire. That's why many times I've spent alone. Doing what? Training. And this is the reason, maybe, why today things just look different. Things have not always been in harmony. Yeah, the question is, how good are you able to regulate the fire inside of you? If you draw your force, if you draw your motivation, if you draw the fire from love, let's say like this. For me, when I think about this word, it's an expanding force. So love by nature, it's an energy which anyway it's expanding beyond yourself. Yeah, which means it's automatically embracing more. So embracing more, meaning it's easier, the energy is there which makes it easier to bring something new into your life. This is how I see it. That is like the energy. And when you combine this now with your training, literally means if you have this type of energy, it becomes easier to bring something new into your life. Now the problem with anger is, or with hate, or this other type of energy is that the nature of this energy, it's not to integrate someone, to integrate something. The nature of that force is, now you're going to fight against the world. Now you're going to mess up everything. Now it's like you are the hurt one, and now you're going to show them all. This is the nature of the anger energy. Yeah, it is the energy that makes you like, okay, that mountain won't move, I'm going to make it move. It's this type. It gives you energy, but the energy, if you just use it without disciplining yourself, without properly thinking about it, what you are going to create is separation. You will have the power to do it, but what the consequence is going to be, you're going to separate something. So, and there it is the hard part. How do you transform now this anger, which carries a huge potential, but still transform it in such a way that it becomes an expansive and integrating force? And there's only one thing that can help with this: the connection, the compassion. Seriously, this is the only thing. That's why you have brotherhoods. That's why you have sisterhoods. Forget about words. Forget about Shaolin. Forget about any specific style or teaching or anything like this. Look at yourself. You are just like a puzzle, brings things slowly together. And this complete attitude, this attitude of doing so, seeing your weakness, finding a way how to improve it, improving it, this is the core, this is the essence of Shaolin. It is the essence inside that you figure out for yourself, uplift yourself, and based on this uplifting, based on compassion, you help others to cultivate the same state of being. That is it.
What do you want? How badly do you want it? And how much are you willing to suffer?
You can't be perfect. You can't plan everything, but it's like you're trying to navigate something that's constantly moving. So when you step into it, you'll take your L's and, you know, grab your lessons, but ultimately down the road, you're a different person than when you started. And I think that's what it's about, the courage to sort of step into that moving dynamic.
There's nothing more important in life as a warrior to be stronger than the conditions and circumstances that are presented to us. You know, Nietzsche, the philosopher, once said that chaos is needed in oneself to give way to a dancing star. Without chaos, there will be no armies to fight, no mountains to climb or dragons to slay. Without chaos, there will be no realization to one's actual truth.
I don't know your situation. I couldn't place myself in your shoes, but what I can tell you is that there's no value ever in pointing out and blaming the world. It's what can I do to fix the situation? You can't control where you started, but you can always control where you go from here. Ambition, personal responsibility, personal agency will change your life. I mean, the issue is that it's harder.
So I think the two most compelling things that shape a person are failure and shame. I'm not saying you have to rush to failure, but people are so scared of failure now. And you hear all these same things, like Michael Jordan would have scored so many points had he not taken all those shots. Or Babe Ruth wouldn't have hit all those home runs unless he stepped up to the plate. And they're all so irritating because they're all so cliche. But they were there, right? They did strike out. They did fail. They were like not even considered to come on and play for their high school team because they weren't good enough.
Right? It's not your boss. It's not, you know, this person, that person, this person. It's you failing to navigate around what's in front of you. So Eddie, how can you step up and build something with these pieces? You know? And so when I think of ambition in today's day and age, I just think a lack of understanding.
If you were to look at this as going, right, cool, there's someone up there playing a big game, and it's like, these guys are good. And then it's like, yeah, but how good are they? It's like, let's put it to the test. And they put this thing in front of you, and then you decide then to give it up and try something else. And then the people up there go, told you. Versus putting that obstacle in your way, and not only do you learn from it, you become better, and like, they deserve it. And you know, whatever thing you think of, if you can mentally visualize that when you go through a tough time, you're like, no, I know your game. Let's see what you're made of.
And that's what I want people to understand. There's no one on the planet like you. No one. They ain't got your DNA. They ain't got your fingerprints. They haven't got your tone, the way you do things. They're not like you. So you can't decide to throw in the towel and get out the game of life. You can't do that. You're robbing us of what you've been given, what's hidden inside you. There's a hidden leader in all of us. There's gifts in all of us. Why don't we tap into it?
If you're living a life that is just so numb and so monotonous, every day is the same, you feel the same, you wake up at the same time, and that's fine for some people. Don't get me wrong, that's fine for some people, but if people are saying they're depressed by that life, and you're not willing to try anything else, like, you're a maniac. It's not me that's a maniac for trying.
Well, we make concessions. You know, we stay in relationships we're not happy with because we don't think about it. Or we stay in situations we're not content with because we don't think about it. I always say, like, you know, I was very blessed. I was very lucky in my childhood, but I didn't ask Eddie, what do you want out of life until what, 23, 24? I just never, I don't even know how to articulate, I just never thought about that. I saw that freedom as a luxury, not something that's obtainable that I could and should go after. And you know, it got to the point where, you know, I was with one of my buddies, we're driving to work, and you know, we're joking around about a flat tire. We're like, gotta be awesome if, you know, if we got a flat tire and pulled us off the road here, we could be 2 hours late to work. And it's like, light bulb moment, what are you doing? This is not the way to live.
Your want and need and desire to achieve your goal has to be stronger than everything else that comes against you, that said this is better than what you've currently got. And to get what you want, you're gonna have to go through this pain, these feelings of disgust and giving up.
You have to be naive to start and stubborn to finish. And anything that you go into, if you knew how much work was involved and how much sacrifice you had to make, if someone went down and go, here's what's going to happen to you in the next 10 years if you decide to take this journey, you'd probably take one look at that book and go, shit. And it's so true. And that's where, when I think about obstacles, when I think about things that you need to build up, you've just got to go into it with a level of naivety. But when these things do come, you've just got to have a mindset about it to go, okay, cool, how bad do you want this? And I always think that when this is difficult, I remind myself, if this is difficult, then it's worth doing, because, you know, most people at this stage would have given up. So if you don't, you're going to get rewarded eventually by this.
Anything that you're going to do, if it's hard, if it's difficult, if there's going to be a lot of resistance in doing it, if your goal isn't as substantial as the resistance that you're going to meet, it's going to be hard to persevere through that resistance. Without a really good reason, without a really good goal that means a lot to you, it's going to be hard to do that, because you're really, for long term, you're really changing your life.
What do you want? How badly do you want it? And how much are you willing to suffer? And very often, everything revolves around the first question, what do you want? Because a lot of people are unclear what they want from life. They don't sit down and think through. We are writing our own life story every day, and yet we don't think about it. Who do we want to be? Where do we want to live? What life do we want to lead? When we've finished our life, come to the end of our life and look back, what do we want to say that we've done? So, what do you want is a very powerful question.
If I have a thought and the thought is, that's really hard, I would shut down before, and now I'm way more apt to say, no, you had the thought, you then thought it was going to be really hard, go do that, go try it, fail. And, you know, Samuel Beckett has my favorite quote, ever tried, ever failed, no matter, try again, fail better. So just this idea, like, it's okay to not be great at something.
Like, when we go through a situation and circumstance, it's easy to step back and think, man, I just went through this and it's just my experience. I firmly believe when we go through things, it's for us to deal with it, get over it, and reach back over the hill to help another person. And a lot of times, like you said, when you're trying to work through it, you think, man, how can I help somebody? And I'm trying to get through it myself, right? And that's a great perspective, right? But when you get through it, right, maybe you can't help them when you're in the midst of it because you're processing it. But when you get over the hill, I think it's important, and I think it's vital that you reach back over the hill and help somebody that may be going through a similar situation, and you can share your values and principles with them. Because that experience that we go through and we deal with is not just for us.
I consume so much, right? And it's awesome, audiobooks, podcasts, all the time. To the point where I'm in the shower, I have an audiobook going. You know, I'm waking up, I'm listening to a speech. And it's very easy to just forget to be alone with yourself. And so I started to make a point to go on these walks where it's just you and your thoughts, right? Not even music. And it's the best time you can have. It really is. One, because it trains you to just remove yourself from the digital space that we're entrapped in a lot of ways. But there's this clarity that we don't find in our day-to-day. You can ask yourself, some of the questions that we were just discussing. You can think about strategically what you're doing, where you're going, maybe why you're going there. It's funny how some of the most fundamental, important questions are just not asked. And they're not asked because we're doing other things. And it's like, we're in the engine room, on this ship, having no idea where in the horizon it's pointed to.
Understanding that always the obstacle's the way. You always have to lean into your fears, lean into your weaknesses, lean into the things that make you uncomfortable if you want to overcome them, if you want to get better. There's no other way. Most people just numb their minds, pretend it's not there. But it's like, yeah, that might provide you with a temporary relief for a short period of time, but it's not really gonna help you long term the next time that you have, a major life event that is a trigger.
If this was your last day on this earth, if you're sitting there in the morning and you're embracing what is beautiful, and you ask yourself in a moment of death, you say, this is my last day on this earth, will you not savor that morning? All the things that bother you in life, would it just not go away?
Waking up and first of all going for a run. Going for a run for the purpose of cleaning out your lungs and getting a lot of fresh air right in the beginning of the day into the body. We also regard the morning, meaning until noon. We are regarding that this is a certain time frame that is dominated, let's say, by rising young energy, which means that is exactly the point of time where you are supposed to come out, to do the work that takes a lot of effort from you, let's say, until noon. So, and this is why after the morning training, after the morning run, first of all, we have also our breakfast, because after the breakfast starts the first high intensity training. High intensity training can mean that the exercises I showed you with the practicing of the rings, that would be one of them. So you make several repetitions from this type of exercise. Or also I have my personal regimen at the moment of having the hardening exercises also in the morning. So around 11, 12 o'clock we are normally finished with the first section. Then we're starting with preparing the lunch. 1 o'clock it's lunchtime, and followed up by a short break. And afterwards we have the afternoon training, where I either practice again my forms, do some stretching, or do also some standing exercises. The more methods you are starting to discover, you are gaining more knowledge, you are gaining more methods, but at the same time you feel like you don't have enough time to even practice all of this. And this is where now my understanding goes, that there is the saying, it is impossible to master Kung Fu in one lifetime. I can understand somehow where this idea is coming from. And what does it mean, mastering Kung Fu? And there one teacher used to say, practicing Kung Fu is life.
and life is Kung Fu. So if you master Kung Fu, it means it's mastering life. It means you're mastering to take life into your own hands. In the Kung Fu, you are responsible to build up yourself as a Kung Fu master. Kung Fu master, master of life, mastering your own life. This is what all of this is about. And sometimes one lifetime is not enough to get all the tools in order for you to know how to fix everything that this life is throwing at you. And this is again where then the idea comes from, that every lifetime we need to use in order to make us grow, in order for us to learn something new within this lifetime. Because if you believe in it or not, just assuming it would be like this, the knowledge you are gaining in this life period, you're gonna get as a new nice package for the next time you come back. Which means you don't want to waste that lifetime right now doing unnecessary stuff that does not bring you forward. Why not? Because in case you come back, you're gonna face the same issues again that you did not solve in this lifetime. The first arrow always hits. That first arrow always hits means there are certain things, like sometimes words or an insult. Somebody is insulting you, it's gonna hurt. You're gonna feel that it's like just hit your ego, for example. The same goes for the physical exercise. In the moment I hit whatever material that is, I feel the pain. It's not like, it's important to understand, it's not that something is numb. It's not that like I don't feel any sensation anymore. I feel the pain. I feel the insult. But what now the Buddhist teachings say is, make sure the second arrow doesn't hit. And the second arrow is the one that oftentimes you are shooting at yourself. Because after the first one hit, you are crying about being hit. And that means if I feel the pain and I try to, let's say, avoid that pain, or I suffer because of this pain, that is something that directly with my mind I try to avoid. So instead what I do is I realize, I observe what is this sensation? What is it that I call, that human call pain? What is that sensation? How does it really feel? So what is it? Is it sharp? Is it dumb? Where exactly is it? Where is the starting point from it? How much does it radiate? And so by observing this, I can detect, I can feel that there is something collecting, let's say, around that area, or even trying to collect and condensate in the mind. And then you learn to release. Even if this is loud, but during the exercises, I feel the pain, I release it. What starts to tense up, I use my mind to do the opposite. What starts to cut into the ego, I directly make the opposite of releasing it. And it is this interplay. Something comes, you release it. More of it comes, you need to learn to release deeper. So that means the more you practice,
the deeper your level of relaxation, the deeper the level of your ability of letting go becomes. And then it will always be just like, it's like an interplay. The pain is there and you release. Pain level number 1, you can release. Then comes pain level number 2. In the beginning, it's still difficult, but you learn, you repeat your releasing. And then suddenly you realize, okay, now my ability has become good enough that even pain level 2 is released. Then comes number 3. Why? Because you start to hit harder, or you start to hit more often. And so this is also like in that process, the step-by-step approach, let's say, to get used to it. And like I said, once you went over a certain limitation, that limit is done. That same pain doesn't come anymore. You went over it. You have overcome it. And if people are insulting you for this type of translation now, you learn to not let it attack or even move your ego. In the beginning it's hard, but future insults, you will just feel they don't move you, because you already have the ability to release. And why would you ever let somebody else take away your life quality just by insulting you? That is exactly what this is about. If you do not take charge about your own internal way of cultivation, there is too much out there that can feel like an insult. But none of that is worse that you are like wasting your lifetime for it, feeling bad about it.
I hope you're enjoying this episode so far. Today's video was sponsored by Huel, a quick, affordable, nutritionally complete source of food with everything that your body needs. Huel has been the sponsor now for the start of the year, and I've been using Huel for over 2 years now. And the reason for that is because when I fly around the world making these documentaries, trying to be an athlete and having a busy life, to know that I can reach in my bag and have everything that my body needs in a bottle has been an absolute game changer. It means that sometimes if I need to save the time, but also get the nutrition, the protein, the calories, the energy on the go, I know that I can. They also have the new product, the greens, the daily greens, which are absolutely amazing and now part of my daily routine. If you want to find out more with the exclusive offers, head to the link in the description. Let's dive back into the video.
When you try to achieve something in life, it's inevitable there will be setbacks. If it was easy, everybody would do it.
The healthy life is restlessness. That's a healthy life. There's going to be ups and downs. Every heart that beats is contracting and expanding all the time. The journey of life is up and down.
Over the years, I've been able to fly around the world to speak to some of the wisest men in the world. And all of that was made possible by our sponsors. Today's video is sponsored by Huel, a quick, affordable, nutritionally complete source of food with everything that your body needs. Use code 10Mulligan with the link down below.
I would never give up on somebody, never. Anybody can change at any stage of their life. We are writing our own story, our own life story, but there's no reason why we can't stop and go, what do I really want? And start from that moment on rewriting your story, facing the challenge, achieving for yourself, and putting your fears and anxieties to one side.
So I think it's important to understand that we all need a certain element of longing, seeking, reaching, yearning If you don't have that, you're not human. The soul of a human being is a divine flame. It's a flame of God. Look at a flame. A flame never rests. It's always flickering. It's always restless. That's what a soul is like, a restlessness.
When faced by challenge, the mind skips into the future and says, what if I fail? What if I'm embarrassed? What if I get injured? What if I... And I have to give them a different way of thinking. The thinking is, I may fail. I may get embarrassed. I may get injured. But I can deal with it because I'm strong.
But the flame is always that spirit. And when you see somebody who's stopped flickering, it's not a good sign. If they lack the sparkle in the eye, whatever the reason, there's something missing. There were children playing on a ladder. And all the children were afraid to climb to the top, except one child. He climbed all the way to the top. So his grandfather, who was watching, said to his grandson, he said, tell me, why were you the only one that had the courage to climb to the top of the ladder? He said, because when the other children were climbing, they kept looking down. So they saw how high they were. They were afraid to climb higher. When I was climbing, I kept looking up. I saw how low I was, so it motivated me to climb higher. So a healthy, growing human being is always looking up. When you look up, you always see horizons you haven't conquered yet, so it's a motivator. So it's always important to look up and then try to gain and internalize it, and then continue climbing. What do you want? And now figure out how to get it. Standing on the ground, we know how to do. You know how to swim in the water, but that split second, you're not in the water and not on the ground, is the fear, a certain unknown. It's like a suspension. And I realized that we are all concerned the transition of change is fearful because you're not used to it. It's something new. And we always gravitate to that which was comfortable for us, that which is easy, we're secure with it. But on the other hand, all growth comes only when you change. If nothing changes, nothing changes. Or I like to put it, if you think what you thought, and you say what you said, and you do what you did, you know what you're gonna have? What you had. It's a mathematical certainty, because nothing's changed. Insanity is doing the same thing and expecting different results. Growth is always gonna come with some discomfort. And that's where the path of least resistance comes in. I say it always to people, I said, if you're more comfortable in this painful situation, you're gonna stay there. It'll only be when it's less comfortable to stay there than to move. Path of least resistance is what you will choose, even if it's a terrible choice. So you have to realize that there is that fear, but all growth is gonna come from that.
Prefer to be the kind of person who steps up and faces the challenge than the kind of person who stays below the line and avoids challenge. What kind of person do you want to be? What do you want? How badly do you want it? How much are you willing to suffer? Those three questions our high performers face every day. Am I going to be a fighter today, or am I going to be a victim? It's a battle of you versus you. We think the opposition's over there, in the other dressing room, but actually it's in here. Who am I going to be today? Am I going to be my best self or my weaker self?
You need to shed one layer of skin to assume a new layer of skin. There's no other way. And that's always life. Creativity is always going to be followed by frustration. Because the more creative, the more novel is the new energy, the more the discomfort is going to precede it.
You're in control. You're in control of your mind. It's your mind. There's 1,000 excuses, but not a single reason.
Disruption has to be seen as a stepping stone towards higher states of growth, toward a paradigm shift.
When you step into the challenge zone, the number of excuses for getting out, back into your comfort zone from there, multiplies. I'm too tired, it's too difficult. I'm having a bad day. Nobody likes me.
Unfortunately, in many cases, it comes through something where you finally hit rock bottom, as they say. Something really shows you this is not acceptable. Who you are should define what you do. But often our jobs, our work, our responsibilities, expectations of others shape and define us. This is the work I do. I try to help people free themselves from those forces. You have something unique to contribute. You have your unique song. There's 8 billion people on this planet, yes, but not two are alike.
I would teach them to face up to those excuses and refuse to be a victim, and teach them a fighter mentality about all those things may be there, but I'm still going to do it. I'm going to deal with it. So 1,000 excuses, but not one reason not to achieve. Awful lot of players playing in the Premier League football in this country who are B for talent, not quite as genetically superior, but A for attitude. And attitude is something anybody can have, anybody. Talent is something that may be a little bit God-given, but attitude is anybody's. You can decide to improve your attitude any day. When you try to achieve something in life, it's inevitable there will be setbacks. If it was easy, everybody would do it. So it's tough. It's tough rising to the top of your career. It's tough holding a relationship together. It's tough buying a house. It's tough being a champion. So there will be setbacks. There's a great story of Kobe Bryant, the basketball player. In his first year as a professional, his team reached the playoffs, and he was the superstar, the young superstar. And in the last minute of the game, he had 3 shots to win the game for his team and missed all 3. And at the end of the game, the commentators were astounded. This great talent missed all 3 shots. And he was sat down on the bench, and his head was in his hands. And they were talking about how he must feel dreadful. And when he got up to come off the court, they managed to get an interview with him and said, "Kobe, you were sat on the bench with your head in your hands. You must have felt terrible." And he looked at them and he said, "What's feeling got to do with it? I was working out why I missed those shots. I now know why I missed those shots, and I can do something about it." Setbacks knock you emotionally off balance. But you've got to work beyond the emotion to get to, why did I have that setback? What can I learn from it? How am I going to avoid it in the future? And go on. If an athlete says, "I want to be the best, Bill," fine. How badly do you want it? Because you've got to pay a price to be the best. The best pay a big price. You've got to work harder, you've got to commit more. You've got to take more responsibility. You've got to deal with more ups and downs. Why are you limiting yourself to that level of achievement?
We have to go back to the mission. You need to have a mission in life, and then you use the tools to fulfill that mission. If you don't have a mission, your smartphone and all the different browsing and all the chats and all the notices are going to control your life. So it comes down to who's in control of your life, you or the circumstances around you.
So that you get athletes who just turn up. It's training tonight, I'll just turn up. You get athletes who turn up to train. They'll turn up, they'll do the requisite amount of work, but that's it. Athletes who turn up to compete, they put a bit more effort in. They try to be the best amongst their group. Then there's the athletes who train to win. They train every day, every session, so that they win on match night. And then there are just those very few players who train to dominate. They train so hard that winning is inevitable on race night.
Okay, so how do you stand out in a crowd, and how do you become a nonconformist? Because the tendency for all of us is to be conformists. That's how it is. We don't like to stand out. I mean, everyone likes to say I have a unique flair or a unique style, but not too much. You don't want to be a pariah. You don't want to be laughed at and mocked at. From our childhood, we've been trained, you conform. You have to do this to conform, to fit in. So the tendency and the temptation to do that is understandable. It comes down to fear as well. Fear of being different, fear of being laughed at, fear of being dismissed. But at the same time, you don't want to lose your individuality. So it comes down to if that individual, unique you has been cultivated or not. But we live in a society, and I think again, through industrialization and technology, is only contributing to the conforming. You have to fit in a certain way.
Maximizing on yourself, it's about dealing with your own doubts, fears, and anxieties, about letting the positive you defeat the negative you. Because what they don't see, the people in the arena don't see, is you on your own at 6 o'clock in the morning, working out, sweating, struggling. And that's what makes champions, the ability to motivate themselves to do the work on their own that leads to success in the arena. Today, I will train like a champion. It looks like an everyday commitment where you wake up every day and say, just like Clint Eastwood, you say, today I'm going to be a champion.
You know, they say when Mozart presented his composition of music, one of his masterpieces, to the Archduke of Austria. So the Archduke thought he was a connoisseur of music. So he says to Mozart, beautiful, but far too many notes. You see, he's telling him far too many notes. And Mozart purportedly responded, he says, yes, Your Majesty, but not one more than necessary. Every note is necessary. And I think it's important to realize that every human being, it doesn't matter how many people out there, you have to know that you are unique and there's something you can contribute that only you can contribute.
But you love them for their attitude. Fighters, fighter mentality through and through. Never let you down. Battle to the end. They're the ones who win. What do you want? How badly do you want it? And how much are you willing to suffer? And very often, everything revolves around the first question, what do you want? Because a lot of people are unclear what they want from life. They don't sit down and think through. We are writing our own life story every day, and yet we don't think about it. Who do we want to be? Where do we want to live? What life do we want to lead? When we've finished our life, come to the end of our life and look back, what do we want to say that we've done? So, what do you want is a very powerful question. And what do you want? How badly do you want it? How much are you willing to suffer? It starts with a dream. If you don't have the dream, then you're not really going to go anywhere, but you have a dream. And then I have to help them translate the dream into commitment. And then translate the commitment into belief, into action, into challenge, into resilience, into fighter mentality. So it's a process, but there are many exercises but they're all the same. They're reframing your thinking from negative to positive. They're all saying, but the only way you can fulfill that dream is what you do today. You can't just hope it's going to happen, you've got to make it happen. So you have a dream, in 3 months' time you're going to pass your examinations for university. So what you have to do, because you have to be excellent on that day, you have to be excellent today. You have to study hard today. And then you have to study hard tomorrow. And then you have to study hard the next day. And you know what? That dream is coming to you. You're not chasing it, it's coming to you. And if you're excellent every day, I guarantee you'll be excellent on examination day. And you've achieved your dream.
The healthy life is restlessness. That's a healthy life. There's going to be ups and downs. Every heart that beats is contracting and expanding all the time. The journey of life is up and down.
It's okay if it ends in defeat. It's not as nice as winning, but it's okay. Because what you understand is, it's the process, not the outcome. It's the process of sport that makes it so meaningful and valuable in life. It's the things you learn on the journey that are the key things in your life that help you be a better husband, father, friend, granddad. Some people will go all the way and win. And fantastic. Brilliant. But many people, 90% of people in the challenge zone, will only go part way. But it's still rewarding because it's the process that gives you the benefits. The outcome is just cake on the end of the meal.
Being able to witness someone going through the same suffering right now, knowing we all suffer, but at least I don't suffer alone. And he managed to do it, I will manage to do it. Observing the actions. Nobody needs to tell you, keep going, keep going. No, sometimes it's enough to just watch somebody. See the suffering, but at the same time also see he still keeps on going.
Today's video was sponsored by Huel, a quick, affordable, nutritionally complete source of food that has everything that your body needs. So if you want to find out more about Huel, head to the link in the description.
Either it's inside or it's not inside. Either you sense it or you don't sense it. Either you have the spirit or you cultivate it if you want to have it. Okay? This type of energy just doesn't lie. So, and just like now talking about all of these pictures, when I train together with my brothers, I can feel when their weakness comes. I can feel when they're about to give up. And vice versa, and we all feel it about ourselves. And this is now the point where sometimes people know what to do. But it's still better to sometimes be reminded by someone. Or even being able to witness someone going through the same suffering right now, knowing we all suffer, but at least I don't suffer alone. And he managed to do it, I will manage to do it. So it is sometimes just by observing the actions. Nobody needs to tell you, keep going, keep going. No, sometimes it's enough to just watch somebody. See the suffering, but at the same time also see he still keeps on going. So this is then suddenly opening up also your ability to have that own trust and hope is possible. And so it just opens the mind. And if many people on a constant basis are confronted with these things and doing this type of training, then this group dynamic is simply a really strong one. Yeah, and now this all also doesn't just apply to the field of martial arts. Like I said, there are many individuals who have their own things going on. So maybe the suffering doesn't come from the field of martial arts. Maybe the suffering comes from something else that happened in their private life. But same story here. Why do you sense a person? Because you have a connection. And so it's out of question for me, does the suffering come because you're doing the martial art, or does the suffering come because you have problems in your relationship? It doesn't matter. I can feel he's not feeling well, she's not feeling well, something must be done. And if I can do something, I do it. The closer, the deeper, the more intimate, the stronger the connection is, the feeling is that you have towards another person, then something very, very naturally, as a consequence, will arise. And that one is called compassion. With a close circle, it's easy to sense it. Yeah, if they are from your flesh and blood, chances are high it's naturally already existing. But it's also possible with, let's say, like in our place, as a community, a brother and sisterhood from different families. Even there, it's possible to create it. And the goal, jumping now really, really back into Buddhist teachings, is that this type of internal this type of perspective, if you can help, you help. Why? Because you can sense the suffering of the other people. This is what we refer to as being compassionate, or learning to cultivate this type of belongingness. So actively training yourself towards the direction of belongingness. If there's no connection, there can't be compassion. Very simple. Compassion is the natural consequence of very deep connection. Why? Because you are regarding the other person as part of your existence and life. So there is no alternative than just trying continuously the best to pull, either we grow together or nobody grows. Because you want to develop your body and your mind in comparison to other people, you want to become over average. Average is not enough. There is something as a martial artist that you want to optimize about yourself. Something is supposed to be better in comparison to other people. This better can mean you can hit harder, you can take more pain, you can lift your leg up higher than the average person, you can have more kicks within a certain period of time. So flexibility is over average, strength is over average, hardness of your body is over average, body coordination is over average, ability to focus is over average, ability to connect your body is over average. So there is something about you want more performance out of your body. This is martial arts. If you want to have 2 cars or 2 bikes and you want one of them to be faster, What you essentially want is, one is supposed to be more performing than the other one. What do? You need an engine with more performance. How do you literally, what are the ways, for example, with an engine to increase the performance? Air intake. Air intake, why? More oxygen, more fire, more combustion. Same like with an oven. Right now, the bigger the house becomes, the more the oven needs to work, the more heat it needs to generate. How you do it, besides the fact of adding more wood, you need more air. We need more capacity. What do I do when I want to start increasing the performance level of myself? Number one, for example, eat more, but I need to have better capacity and better refined breathing mechanisms. And this is where it simply comes into the practices that are, for example, known as Qigong. Some people nowadays say Qigong, energy practice. Yes, it's correct, but sometimes you get lost with your energy. I don't know which type of energy. So breathing. Okay, for me, Qigong is simply the part of increasing the capacity of your lungs, which means once you inhale, you try to inhale as much as you can. This is the first level. And the second level is increasing your ability in adjusting also the oxygen, the air level inside of you. The more I start to sweat, the more different my breath has become. Very naturally. When you start running, why suddenly the body naturally wants to draw in more air? Because you are asking something from your body, performance, and in order for your body to deliver it, he needs fire now to burn. So this is the moment where also the air, the inhalation, the exhalation starts to increase. And because it's getting tiring, sometimes it's good to have, like the Buddhist teachings, as a place of when you are out of question or when you don't know what to do anymore. There it's good to have the old teachings from the old teachers, to remind you a little bit. You read more about compassion and these things. So that means this is where I think, and also mentioned before, the force is the same. The power is the same. The methods, how to create fire, increasing your breathing rhythm, the capacity, regulating, for example, the methods are the same. So the energy is available. But the big difference is, what is the foundation in which this fire is being used? And if the foundation is not based on virtues, is not based on value, then the same force, the same energy is getting into a dark direction. It's getting into a destructive direction. The force is the same. The values, the principles are different. Okay? And this is why I think it is such an important aspect that within this field where we are finding ourselves, you need virtues. You need a guideline, and optimally based on compassion. Because that's the breaker for everything. Without that one, because it's either it's compassion or you are separated individual. Separated individual has a very high sense of self-centeredness. And self-centeredness is what is causing problems in this world. The sense of belongingness is is not the root for causing conflicts. It's this one.
I wish that was a message that the whole world could hear. That's fantastic.
You're gonna make the world hear it.
I hope so. I hope so.
Alas, alas to those that die with their song still inside them. In other words, we all have a song inside us. And many of us are afraid to sing, either because our parents or educators or society has pressured us to fit into their mold instead of our own. So you can live your whole life and never sing your song. That's the greatest risk of all. You've never been who you should have been. You never actualized your potential. There's no such thing as success without the possibility for failure. When your child begins to walk, that child will fall. Any parent that says, I don't want my child to fall, I'm not going to let that child walk, or I'll hold the child when they start walking, will never allow their child to walk. You have to let them walk. You're there for them. You say, I'm here to pick you up. I'm here to support you. But every walk has to begin with falling at least once or twice or 3 times. Sometimes the challenges of life that we think we're struggling through are actually the things that give us the strength to fly. Pressure in life is critical. If you're comfortable, what's going to motivate you to move? I meet people and I say, you're too comfortable. If you're very comfortable, God bless you. I would love to say that a person who's in a painful situation should have an epiphany or something. They suddenly see the light and they say, this is not acceptable. But if someone's been breathing toxic air for years, they get used to it, to the point they'll say, it's not so bad. You know, they're living in darkness. I got used to it. It's not so bad. Unfortunately, in many cases, it comes through something where you finally hit rock bottom, as they say. Something really shows you this is not acceptable. But are there exceptions? Of course there are. I've seen people, a moment of grace, or someone they met, or something they saw, and they realized, what am I doing to my life? It's critical to always bring in someone that's been there, someone with experience, because that helps build confidence. I mean, you see this in every area of life, because a lot of times its lack of confidence is due to lack of experience. So it's good to have a mentor, whether it's a business mentor or a relationship coach, that can help you say, you know what, this resistance you're having is healthy. It's good to, or no, this resistance is just fear and inexperience, and it's time to take a leap. So I think one simple piece of advice that people don't usually follow is find someone you can talk to that's more objective than you. Because our subjectivity blinds us. Sometimes causes too many fears, or sometimes causes us to be reckless and move too quickly. Sometimes you need someone to tell you, you know what, this needs more due diligence, a little more time, do a little more research. Or sometimes, no, you're waiting too long and it's time to make a move. So having someone you can run it by is a vital, vital piece. It's also acknowledging that you don't have it all figured out, and you can't always know. That's part of what risk is about. You know, you can't always know, is the time right or not? Also, to get rid of the concept of perfection. There is no such thing as perfect. There's no such thing as a perfect time. That's just an illusion. It's usually an excuse to procrastinate. You know, perfect time. What does perfect time mean? I'm not going to do it until it's perfect. So then you're never going to do what's good either. So anyone that's successful knows that. They do not wait for perfection. It's an illusion. It's immature, actually. You do everything you can, get objective advice, and then take the leap, and then learn from it. And you know what? If a mistake was made, you learn from the mistake, and you'll become better next time. I don't try to read them the riot act and tell them how bad this is. I try to wake them up the other way around, showing them there's a better alternative. But unfortunately, sometimes recognizing how bad it is what wakes people up. I'll start with the story with myself when I was a child. I remember I was in the summer bungalow colony, my parents, my family, friends, and I had learned to swim. I was a pretty good swimmer in the swimming pool. I would go swimming every day, but then I wanted to dive. I wanted to learn how to dive. And for some strange reason, I would go up on the diving board and I was afraid to jump. I just had this irrational fear. And it wasn't because I was afraid of water. I swam. I knew how to swim. So I remember I used to think to myself, why am I afraid to dive? Okay, I said, maybe the diving board's too high up. Let me dive from the edge of the pool. So I stood that, also wouldn't dive. And then you start playing all these games with yourself. You know, okay, I'm gonna count down from 10 to 1. And I count, then you have some excuse, I'll count again. Okay, I'll count from 100 to 1. Count from 1,000 to 1. So a whole summer passed and I never dived. I was afraid to dive. And it was the strangest thing because again, I was thinking to myself, what are you afraid of? What's gonna happen? Your stomach will split up? You know, they have this thing. Anyway, the next summer, same story. I did the same thing. And then I decided, you know what, I'll try a new trick. Instead of just standing on the edge of the pool, I'll sit and I'll just drop myself in, you know, it's not such a big drop. And even that, for some reason, I just had this crazy fear. And finally, a friend of mine snuck up behind me without me knowing, and he just pushed me in when I was trying this thing. And that was it. I got over my fear. He pushed me in and I swam and then I went back and I dived from the edge of the pool and then from the diving board. I got over the fear simply because someone pushed me. But I always, as an adult, tried to analyze, what was this? I stood on the ground, that was not a problem. I have no problem being in the water. What was the concern, the fear? Is my theory, the fear of change, which means standing on the ground, we know how to do. You know how to swim in the water, but that split second, you're not in the water and not on the ground, is the fear, a certain unknown. What it was, it's like a suspension. And I realized that we are all concerned the transition of change is fearful because you're not used to it. It's something new. And we always gravitate to that which was comfortable for us, that which is easy. We're secure with it. But on the other hand, all growth comes only when you change. Because if you stay, like they say, if nothing changes, nothing changes. Or I like to put it, if you think what you thought, and you say what you said, and you do what you did, you know what you're going to have? What you had. It's a mathematical certainty because nothing's changed. Insanity is doing the same thing and expecting different results. But there's a fear because there is a change of the climate, a change of environment, of atmosphere. And that was it's my own psychological theory. And I think it's critical that people realize that growth is always going to come with some discomfort. And that's where the path of least resistance comes in. I say it always to people. I said, if you're more comfortable in this painful situation, you're going to stay there. It'll only be when it's less comfortable to stay there than to move. So you have to realize that there is that fear, but all growth is going to come from that. I mean, who doesn't have that element? You know, people think, I'm going to stay on the fence, and that way I play safe. Yeah, but you could also end up never accomplishing anything in life. So that's why it's the biggest risk. You end up not going anywhere. So of course, if you start using your mind, there are many reasons not to do things. And if you get stuck in your head, you could end up doing it your whole life and never really fulfilling what you need to fulfill. The big question, of course, is the matrix. Are we living in a matrix that has programmed us? And how do we escape that? I think it's up to us. And my response would be very straightforward. If you see yourself as a machine, then a better machine is going to replace you. If you see yourself as a soul, with something transcendent about you, something that's sublime, that can be quantified and in the mechanics of a machine, then machines will be our tools. So I think it's up to us. You have something unique to contribute. You have your unique song. This doesn't mean you have to stand out in a way that disrupts others, but how could you compromise yourself? So it's really helping people build the confidence in what they can do unique. There's 8 billion people on this planet, yes, but not two are alike. Life is not quantifiable by numbers. It's not a numbers game. Any person you help, that person has been changed forever. Doesn't matter if there's another billion people or thousands of people. And we have to not lose sight of that. Look, the fact is we live in a world of numbers, in a world of crunching numbers, statistics, analytics. Love is not like a birthday cake where you can only divide it into so many parts. Love is infinite. And my grandmother gave a beautiful example. She said, love is like the sun, and it's reflected in every drop of water, just like in the Pacific Ocean. Every drop has the whole sun in it. My whole love goes to each child. It's not a numbers game. The entire sun is reflected in every drop of water. So my full love is in every child in its own way. So that's something that needs to be, I guess, emphasized in our commoditized, fetishized world.
I realize you go higher, you go even more alone. Because nobody is willing anymore to invest their energy in going higher. Because it's becoming more difficult. They say, it's already okay here. Why you still want to move up there? It's getting more dangerous, whatever. So that means along this way, the higher you want to go, the more likely you're gonna walk alone. This is the next thing. Along the way to mastery, you walk the way alone. Repetition, repetition, repetition. Waking up and thinking too much about what to do today. You don't even reach the state of being able to immerse into your daily life. Because you're still in figuring out 24 hours a day what to do. You're still thinking about your life. Yeah, but thinking is something different than experiencing, than sensing, than feeling life itself. This is why all these methods, stop thinking, meditate, discipline your thoughts. Stop thinking too much. Don't go into the past. Don't go into the future. Be in the present. Why? Because only then it's possible that the mind is free, the capacity is free, and now you can completely immerse into whatever you are doing. And this means you have arrived. You have arrived. That's it. If you want to achieve something serious, you need to be serious. You can't achieve something seriously impactful if you're joking around and if you're losing your focus all the time. So that means setting priorities, knowing when is the time to invest the energy, when it is the time to release energy, when is it good now to recover, when are you really feeling this is now starting to be the limit. These are all very, very fine aspects that only you know. Only you know about yourself. When you lift the weights, only you know. People outside watching, they don't know. If you're going through a struggle, if you're just warming up, they don't know. So that means to continuously integrating an internal dialogue. Into your practices. The awareness is with myself. I can feel the changes throughout the practice that are happening inside of my body. I can feel if something is blocked. I can feel if there is potential to release some energy somewhere and invest it somewhere else. This is like this whole idea of an internal practice, a quiet practice. And at the end, it is insight. You gain more insight into yourself. What is the result? More performance. More being able to tickle the potential out that is, let's say, sleeping inside of you. But you need to realize what is sleeping. The fact is, you wake up in the morning. I would easily say many people, first thing they do is directly look either on the phone or whatever. It's a common thing. It's not about good or bad, it's about consequence. And if the morning is already starting with your awareness being drawn out to something which is pretty irrelevant on the long term, then of course the way of how you're living your life is also gonna display upon that. It doesn't matter what type of practice you're doing. It is the way that, whatever it is, be aware of what's going on the inside. Use these outside movements in order to get inside. Use all of this because of the repetition, because of the consistency that it is happening every day. This is why it's possible for you to watch deep. If circumstances are changing every day too quickly, it's difficult to find something stable about it. Self-mastery, mastering something, is always about yourself. And if you want to master yourself, well, you're gonna challenge and face yourself, and this is happening alone. Somebody told me, in case I feel like in dark times, you are not alone. If this room is completely dark, I am alone. Even if somewhere behind there, I see a spark of light, I see a spark of hope, which is behind there. Yeah, but for me, experiencing here, there is still the gap of darkness in between me and the spark of hope. So around me, for me, it's dark. And I don't have anybody left and right from me. So, and in this picture, meanwhile, I really think that to build yourself up, to have a certain amount of, let's say, responsibility for yourself. This is why I'm emphasizing all the time in all of these years, make yourself strong. Make yourself strong. We all want peace, yes. But here, in our place, we not just want to have peace. Peaceful and strong. This combination I prefer better. Listen, if from the 24 hours a day you are like sleeping 8 hours and you still have then the rest of 16 hours to invest in something. If from these 16 hours you are spending 10 hours sitting there thinking about how nice everything was a few days ago, well, it's just blocking you from investing these 10 hours in now starting to do something now, or planning something that you want to put into place later. Emptying the cup is so helpful because it also applies to information flow at the end. Flow of if you want to learn something new. It's just not appropriate to go to a teacher, visit any seminar or any workshop when you already have like a preconditioned mindset or preoccupied mind while entering into new territory. To understand new territory, you have to become part of the territory. Along the way to mastery, you walk the way alone. You can't bring your own ideas and values, what you think, into a new territory, because this is in a way limiting what is possible to penetrate into you. It's constant filling up, emptying the cup. Filling up, emptying the cup. Doesn't mean you are not learning or that you're not growing along the way, because this is what the cup is doing. The cup is growing by doing so, but it is the content. It is like you read the book and after some time you get the content of the book. Latest after reading the book 10 times, you understood the message from the book. But now it's possible you put away the book. The container is not necessary anymore because the message has also went into, let's say, your system. Yeah? So it's not necessary to carry the book still in your backpack wherever you are going. It has become part of you already. Unless you are collecting knowledge without putting this knowledge into practice.
Thank you so much for watching. As always, thank you to Huel for sponsoring the video. You can find out more with the link in the description and get exclusive offers from Huel and free product, actually. You can get a free shaker and t-shirt with some of your orders and the daily greens as well. You can get the clear bottle as well on your first order. I absolutely recommend the daily greens. Thank you for watching, guys. I am so excited how the year has started, but we have a big project planned. And I'm so thankful for having you guys around and sharing something that I really do think could have a huge impact directly on people's lives. Stay tuned. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.